Hey friends, it's Marie and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing some Slimline cards using the scrapbook.com's bright smooth cardstock paper pads. Now I've got two of these paper pads and these are some of their new colors. They've had some of these paper pads in the past, all A2 size, but now they have some Slimline ones coming out. So I'm showing you these bright colors here. We've got pinks and blues, greens, yellows, oranges, and all kinds of different colors to choose from, and I have A2 size as well as Slimline size. So these are really handy to have on hand. You can just slap them on top of your cards and craft with them. Now the Slimline paper pads coordinate really well with the scrapbook.com Slimline card fronts and card bases. They have some of these pre-cut for you, and they are the white ones are cut out of Neenah cardstock, so they're great for blending on, coloring on, doing all of your crafting on, and they have them available in the Slimline size. So I'm making a few Slimline cards today, like I mentioned. For this one, I kind of wanted to use those bright colors as an ice cream inspired card. So I'm using this Herringbone Stencil from scrapbook.com, and I kind of want to make the bottom of my card look like an ice cream cone, and I thought this stencil kind of came closest to that look. So I'm going to go ahead and blend on some of my tea dye Distress Oxide ink here, and it's just gonna look like a waffle cone or ice cream cone when I'm all done with it. And then for the ice cream, I'm going to layer on different layers of paper using those bright paper. So as you can see here, I'm going all the way mostly up to the top. I'm not worried about covering the very top portion of the Slimline because I am going to color it with these bright papers here. Now I've got yellow, pink, orange. I think these go together really fun for a summery and bright look. And I'm going to kind of cut them to make them look like scoops of ice cream on top of my card. So I have some of these wavy border dies from Lawn Fawn. I've had these in my stash for years, and I use them for all sorts of things, mostly doing landscapes with hills and grass and things, but it also works if you go ahead and cut out some of your paper with these. So just giving you another idea of different ways you can use your dies. I went ahead and I cut out all three pieces of paper here to layer on top of each other, and it ends up looking like an ice cream cone layered with these really bright layers of ice cream. So once I had those cut, I layered them on top of each other. I cut them down and I just trimmed off the extra, and that kind of gives me my card background. Now this is really fun, really bright. It's kind of giving off those ice cream vibes. I wanted to do a little bit more work with these ice cream cone scoops, if that's what you want to call them, just to give them a little bit more interest. So I'm using some of my white pigment ink from scrapbook.com, and I probably should have done this before gluing down my layers, but I didn't think about it till afterwards. So I'm just using a little bit of this mint tape to kind of mask off the edges of my ice cream. And then I'm taking my foam blender, my domed foam blender, and I'm just kind of tapping on a little bit of this white pigment ink. Now I'm not swirling it on because I want to get some of that texture on there, and it kind of makes the ice cream scoops look a little bit frosty. And to add to that sort of shimmery frosty look, I'm adding some splatters with my scrapbook.com glitter brush pen. I'm just using the cap here with my brush to flick on a little bit of those glitter splatters, and you can't see them very well in my photos, but they are there. Now I'm going to add my sentiment, and I love using my alpha dies to cut out just custom sentiments. So I needed something that went with the ice cream type theme, so I went with Let's Chill. I'm mixing and matching a few different fonts here from my alpha dies, and I really like the way it looks. Now when I use really bright colors or neons, I don't know if you would consider these bright papers neons, but they're close. They're pretty bright. But when I use really bright colors, I like to add some black accents because I think that just makes the rest of the colors really pop. So I sprinkled on some little hearts there that I cut out of black cardstock, and I'm just attaching this whole card front to a card base, and that finishes my first card. Now, I loved the way that card turned out, but I thought I could take this idea and just go a few steps further. So I ink blended another cone, and this time I cut it into a cone shape, and I left the top portion onto that cone shape so I could go ahead and put my ice cream scoops on. Now, I used those same wavy border dies, and I cut off the bottom of some circles that I die cut, and that creates my ice cream scoops. So I'm giving a little bit more shape to my background here. The first card, I just made the whole background look like a cone. This time I'm giving it a little bit of shape, and this is going to layer on top of my card base. I'm going to add some dimension with foam adhesive and things, but before I glue that down, I wanted to do something on my background. I don't want it to get too crazy, but I wanted it to look fun, like a party. So I'm just going to take some of my Distress Oxides, and I'm going to splatter my background. Now, you can do this with a paintbrush, you can do it with a water brush. I decided to do it with my glitter brush pen, and this is not only going to add some color, but it's going to add some glitter as well. Now, you don't have to worry about your brush getting stained or anything. You can just kind of wash it off with a little bit of water, and if it stains a little bit, if that bothers you, maybe don't use your glitter brush, but I did get a little bit of color remaining on my bristles, but when I brush it on, it doesn't affect the color of the sparkle at all, so it doesn't bother me, but you might want to keep that in mind if you wanted to try that. If you don't want your glitter brush being stained, maybe use a different brush. So I'm adding some of my foam adhesive now on the back of my little ice cream cone piece, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down to my card base. This is just going to pop up that ice cream cone over that splattered party background and give some dimension to that ice cream cone. So the top portion there, you can see I've left just blank, so I can go ahead and layer on my ice cream scoops. Now you can put as many scoops of ice cream on your cone as you want. I went with 2. I'm using the bright pink and the bright yellow. I just think those colors go well together and they always make me smile. So those are the colors I'm going with. I'm just going to glue them down, and before I glue down my bottom layer, I want to kind of arrange both of my scoops to make sure that they're going to fit the way I want them to. Now, I also added a little bit of that white pigment ink as well, like I did on my first card, just to give a little bit more of a frosty look to my ice cream. And once I have that glued down, I'm going to trim off each edge. And that's just going to make it completely in line with my card background. So I'm really happy with the way this cone turned out. I like this one a lot better than my first one, but I thought they were both really fun. If you have a preference, let me know in the comments which one is your favorite or how you would use these bright papers in your own card making. And if you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and tap that bell for notifications so you don't miss another video from me. So I'm also putting another custom sentiment on this ice cream cone. I've mixed and matched a stamp set with some of my alpha dies, and I'm just putting together a fun little sentiment here. Now again, to finish this one off, I am sprinkling on some of those black cardstock hearts, and after I was done with this video, I did go ahead and tie a little bow out of some twine and glue that on as well, and I thought that was really cute, and this just turned out to be a really fun card. Now for my third card for my video, I'm going to do something really fun, sort of 80s inspired, and I thought these brights were perfect for like a sunglasses type card. So I'm doing another slimline card. This time I'm going to turn it on its side so it's horizontal, and I'm doing a little bit of masking, and I'm using my mint tape to do this, and I'm just masking off these shapes of color I guess you could consider it color blocking, but these are a triangular kind of shape, and I'm just going for a really fun, crazy 80s vibe here. I feel like the brights and the neons always make me think 80s, so I thought let's go with it. Let's do something fun. So the sunglasses that I'm using, I actually used a cut file with my Cricut. And the paper from these paper pads cut really well with my Cricut. I had no issues with it tearing or anything. They just cut really clean. So you can put this paper in your Cricut as well and cut out custom shapes. So you can see here I've got my background, I'm masking it off, and I'm ink blending, and I'm putting different shapes here and there, just being really careful to try to get the ink to stay where I want it to. I do have a little mark of purple there where I didn't want any to go, but I think my sunglasses are going to cover that up. Now I want to add another color in here, and I want it to look like it's coming in behind these purple triangles. So I'm actually going to mask the triangles off and then mask my shape onto my background. So you can do a lot of creative masking with just this mint tape if you kind of think about it and plan it out beforehand. I know I've done a lot of different color block techniques in the past, and I just really love this technique on my cards. I think it's fun that you can make sort of any kind of colorful, crazy background if you just mask off different areas and ink blend blocks of color. It's super simple. It looks really great. I've done different foiling techniques on top of color block backgrounds as well, and it's just one of my favorite go-to techniques when I'm building a fun background. It works really well with this 80s inspired sort of card also, so I'm loving the purple and the bright yellows together. So I'm finishing off some of my masking here. You can see I have a white strip in the middle of my shapes that I have to fill in with color. So I'm just moving my mint tape to kind of mask off those purple ones, keep those free from any extra color so that I don't get any of my colors muddy together, and it's gonna look like that yellow triangle is coming behind my purple ones, even though I ink blended those first. So it's the magic of masking. It's a really fun technique to do if you want to try it. You just have to remember that what you're going to put down first is going to be in the front, and then if you mask it off, put something else down, it's going to look like your background. So it took me a little while to figure out the whole masking thing, but once you get the hang of it, there's a lot of fun things that you can do. So I'm just going to peel off that tape here, and it's going to reveal my bright and crazy background. I'm going to also ink blend another section of yellow on the bottom there. I didn't include it in the video because you already watched me mask already, and I didn't think that you needed to see that as well, but I'm adding a little bit more fun with this dashed stencil from scrapbook.com and some embossing paste from Altenew, and I'm just scraping this on. I'm not going to cover the whole background. I just want to put a few sections of these dashed lines on my card. So I put that on one of the sides, and I'm going over to the other side to put some more dashed lines. And if you don't put a whole lot, it doesn't take long for this to dry. So I just set my background aside while I went and washed up my stencil and my spatula in the sink with some warm soapy water. And then I came back to finish my card. So here's my sunglasses. I wanted to give them some really fun, shiny lenses, shades, so I'm actually using some of my hot press foil, and I'm not using it to foil, I'm just using it for the background of my shades, but it's another way that you can use your foils creatively if you want to. I glued that down on my foil, and I'm using some small scissors just to trim the sides to make it just clean and even with my sunglasses. And then I'm going to layer my other layer for my sunglasses on top, and it's going to become a really fun element on my card. Now, like I said, this paper did cut really well with my Cricut, so go ahead and try that if you have any of your other own custom shapes or fonts that you want to do. It worked great for me, so I would definitely say it works with your Cricut. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop these sunglasses onto my background with some foam adhesive. I'm adding some of those black hearts again, and I'm using some of my alpha dyes for a custom sentiment, and that finishes this card. So I hope you liked a look at these bright papers from scrapbook.com and a few really crazy ways that you can use them on your own cards. Make sure you give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Comment, share, subscribe, do all the things, and I will catch you guys next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.